In this video, I'm giving you the secret communication technique that most men were never taught. The one that makes a woman feel sexual tension in mere seconds. Even when the conversation sounds polite and harmless on the surface, there's one tiny shift in your communication that turns anything you say into pure sexual chemistry that she feels in her body. And most men will go their entire lives never discovering it. This is the key to becoming the most unforgettable man she has ever talked to. I'm Dr. Alex Rivera, your trusted men's health advisor. Here's what we're covering today. First, why most men's conversation style creates zero attraction and how they unknowingly kill sexual tension before it even starts. Then, what innuendo actually is and why it works on female psychology. This isn't about being crude. It's about engaging her imagination. And finally, the exact technique for using innuendo so she feels that spark without you crossing any lines. Now, understanding the psychology first makes the technique actually work. Jump ahead and you'll miss why this is so powerful. Hit that subscribe button because what we're covering today is based on how women's minds respond to suggestion and anticipation. Most guys talk logically, predictably, politely, and women feel nothing when you do that. That's why you become invisible the moment you start speaking to her because your words don't reach deep inside of her. They don't touch her emotionally. They don't create any sexual tension. And I'm sure you've felt that before. You're talking to a woman, you can just watch her interest fade away. And you can feel when she mentally checks out and it's all over. Well, innuendo fixes all of that. It turns an otherwise boring conversation into pure sparkling chemistry while staying subtle enough that you slip underneath her radar and she can't push back on it. It allows you to create sexual tension fast with that woman without crossing lines or looking inappropriate because you let her own imagination and mind do the work for you. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Let me talk about the big mistake that most men make. They fall into these deadened conversations, just asking the woman question after question, and they're not adding any real value of their own. You start interviewing that woman, asking her question after question, and then you wonder why nothing ever sparks up. You were raised your whole life to be polite, respectful, logical, and sure, those are good qualities in professional settings, but that exact programming is also what makes women feel absolutely nothing around you when you talk to them. And here's the other trap most men fall into. Most men never make the conversation flirty or playful. They never bring any sexual tension into it. So, the woman gets bored and eventually hits you with, well, it was nice meeting you and she's gone forever. But wait, there's something else happening here that most men completely miss. On the other hand, if you jump straight into heavy, direct sexual talk right away, that can also backfire. If you suddenly start describing what you want to do to her intimately, she's going to throw up every barrier she has. She's going to pull back. She might even think you're inappropriate or creepy. Keep this in mind because it connects directly to what I'm about to show you about innuendo. This is where innuendo becomes your secret weapon. It allows you to make the whole vibe flirty and charged without getting explicit, letting her mind do the work for you. Innuendo gives her that little sexual spark without the pressure. She can laugh it off if she wants, or if she's feeling the chemistry, she can lean into it. And if she ever wants things to slow down, you can just back off cleanly because you never crossed the line. You never said anything explicit. Innuendo gives her the room to flirt more deeply if she chooses, or keep it light and playful if that's where she wants to keep it. But either way, the woman stays comfortable and she stays engaged. That's why in social settings, on first dates, in messaging, if the energy is right and we're in a good flow together, innuendo works. It's the tool you want to keep in your back pocket at all times. So, here's exactly what we're doing. I'm going to walk you through precisely what innuendo is and how you can take almost anything a woman says and twist it into something that builds sexual chemistry fast. And it's real simple once you understand the mechanics behind it. Sexual innuendo basically has a double meaning. It has a meaning on the surface, a meaning that sounds totally normal, totally innocent. But underneath that surface level, there is a second meaning, a sexier meaning, one that she can't help but feel. So, it's basically this two-layered message. Now, here's where understanding her desires becomes absolutely critical. If you want to know what topics actually turn her on, what she fantasizes about, and what makes her feel safe exploring sexual chemistry, you need real conversations about desire. That's why I created the Desire Playbook, 20 Best Sexual Questions to Ask a Woman. These questions help you discover what creates attraction for her specifically. You'll find it linked below, completely free. The way you're going to use innuendo is like this. She says something completely mundane, something completely normal, like, "I've got a lot of laundry to do tomorrow." Nothing special there. And you respond in a way that sounds normal on the surface, but it carries a subtle dual-charged meaning underneath. Nothing explicit, nothing over the top, just enough for her mind to run with it. Let me break this down. I'm going to give you 2 different kinds of innuendo, the simple type and then the more advanced type. We're going to start with the simple one first, because once you get the simple type down, everything else becomes way easier. The simple type works like this. You're going to listen for special words she says. But these words also happen to have a dual edge to them if you tilt them in the right way. So you're listening for words like long or hard or tight, soft, good, deep, thick, words like that. Basically, anything that can sound innocent on the surface or could sound suggestive depending on how you say it. I call these dual-charged words. And when she drops one of these into the conversation, all you have to do is reflect it right back at her like a mirror. But you're going to hit that word with a little extra tone, with a little extra emphasis that brings attention to it. Imagine she says, "It's been such a long day at work. I could really use a drink," that word long. That's your opening. You just repeat that word long right back at her, but you're going to stretch it out a little bit. You're going to change the tonality. You're going to slow it down. You're going to wrap it in pauses. Something like, "Well, Sarah, sometimes long days can be a good thing." Notice what I did there. I wrapped the word long in pauses. I dropped the tone on it a little bit. I gave her a knowing look. Now, if you say it fast or flat without the emotion, the whole thing falls apart. The key here is the delivery, the pauses, the tone, the expression on your face. That's what turns a normal word into pure sexual tension. But here's the thing most men don't realize about innuendo. This takes practice. Most guys think they're going to be using innuendo like a pro in the moment. But when you're standing there in front of a woman you're attracted to, your brain is going to freeze up and anything you meant to say is just going to vanish. You're going to be drawing blanks. But that's normal because we fall to the level of what we have trained for. Let's now move on to the second type of innuendo, the advanced type. This is for when she does not give you an obvious trigger word. Maybe she says something like, "Well, I've got a lot of laundry to do tomorrow." There's nothing obviously suggestive in there. But here's the beauty of this. You can still take just about anything a woman says and still flip that into innuendo and create chemistry. Here's how. When she tells you she's got laundry to do tomorrow, you're immediately going to look for angles connected to laundry that have a physical element or a sensory element. You might think of when a woman is doing laundry. She's bending over, or she's using her hands, or things are getting warm in the dryer, or things are getting wet. These are all different angles you can play with. So, while laundry sounds boring on the surface, it's still loaded with different physical actions and sensory experiences underneath. If she says, "I've got a lot of laundry to do tomorrow," you can respond with, "Yeah, I can already picture you bending over, getting your hands all in that dirty laundry." Notice what you just did. She didn't give you a single suggestive word. You supplied your own dual-charged words based on different angles. Bending over, hands, getting dirty. These are all innocent sounding, but also suggestive at the same time. Here's another example. Let's say she says, "I'm really hungry for a hamburger and fries right now." The word hungry is a dual-charged word. You could lean in on that word and reflect it back by saying, "Yeah, Sarah, I bet you get hungry a lot." But you can also hit it from completely different angles. Think about all the physical stuff happening with a burger. You're gripping it with your hands, putting it into your mouth, biting down on it, the warmth of it, the juiciness of it. So, if she says she's hungry for a hamburger, you could respond, "Yeah, well, it's nice when you can just put a big juicy piece of meat in your mouth and bite down on it." Now, you're not being graphic here. You're just stacking multiple dual-charged words. The words nice, big, juicy, meat, putting it into your mouth, biting down, and you let her imagination fill in the blanks. And the really cool thing about this is that you can do this with literally anything. Anything a woman says. Even if she says something totally boring or random or mundane, you can still create that spark. It literally does not matter what she says, you can still build chemistry out of it. Here's the bottom line. Creating sexual attraction isn't about looks or money. It's about making her feel the right things through how you communicate. When you stop being purely logical and polite and instead use innuendo to engage her imagination, when you reflect dual-charged words back to her with the right tone and pauses, and when you find suggestive angles and even mundane topics, you become unforgettable. Try this approach in your next conversation. Listen for dual-charged words like long, hard, soft, deep. Reflect them back with emphasis and pauses. Watch how she responds. More laughter, more engagement, more leaning in. That's when you know it's working. If this completely changed how you think about attraction, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and tell me which dual charge word do you think is most effective. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep taking care of.